English to Africa aired its inaugural broadcast August 4, 1963. The service was the brainchild of American broadcast pioneer Edward R. Murrow. Among Murrow's recruits for the new service was Leo Sarkisian, who created and hosted VOA's longest-running program, Music Time in Africa, for nearly 5 decades.
In 1961, Edward R. Murrow, the director of the United States Information Agency, who was just made director with President Kennedy, he says, we are planning to build a Voice of America radio station in Monrovia, and I'd like to have you come and work for Voice of America. And I went to Monrovia in 1964. In 1965, I went on the air with my own show called Music Time in Africa. As I went to each country, I've met so many of the presidents, I've met cabinet ministers, but most of all, I met the musicians and the people. This is how we learned about each other. This is the best part of my life, has been just meeting all these people, sitting and talking with them and eating with them and dancing. Oh, I have danced sometimes way past midnight in a village with all the people.
English to Africa has covered all the major developments in Africa, from the continent's triumphs to its failures, from coups to democratic transitions, from famine to agricultural successes, from the thrill of victory to the agony of defeat at sports events, and much more. English to Africa's multicultural staff hails from different countries in Africa and the United States.
I've been with English to Africa since 1988. Hard to believe it's been that long. I think what makes English to Africa special, more than anything else maybe, is the camaraderie, the spirit of teamwork, tremendous dedication. When I started, Ben Gordon was the chief that hired me. Barry Mon was the chief. Their legacy still continues. Fritzi Depew, of course, our senior editor, until recently, her retirement recently, she was just the glue that held the service together for so many years.
Over the years, the service has undergone many changes.
We are so proud of having been on the air for 50 years in the English to Africa service. That's a real achievement. And we want to work together, hand in hand with our audience, to tap into what their desire is. What do they want from their media? How can we serve their best interests with news, information, talk shows, entertainment, sports, science and technology, and other areas? So we're looking forward to the future. English to Africa is kind of a famous service within the Voice of America because we have some legendary figures who've worked in English to Africa, who've passed through the service and either gone on to other things or contributed for their entire career to our service. Leo Sarkisian comes to mind. Other legendary editors like Fritzi Depew. We have staffers who have served us for many, many years, and including Joe DeCapua and Bill Eagle and Ashenafi Abedje, who are still with us. We have others who have worked in the English to Africa service and gone on, like Sonya to be the director of Central News, or like Neil Levon to be the director of our marketing operations in Southeast Asia.
I really do feel I've been incredibly fortunate. You know, I started out in Africa, and so there's a real soft spot in my heart for that because it was just so exciting and it was so new for me. And there, perhaps more than anywhere else, and maybe because it was my first experience doing this, just to go out and tell people's stories. Whether it's from the farmer, you know, suffering from desertification in the Sahel region. I remember covering a locust plague in Mali. Covering the genocide in Rwanda was probably the most, it's still something I think about. I think it's something that you never leave behind.
U.S. President Barack Obama.
From reporting to interactive programming, English to Africa serves its growing audience.
Issues that affect people on a daily basis.
I think the beauty of Straight Talk Africa is because it is a simulcast, meaning you can access it via television, you can listen to it via radio, you can interact with it via the internet. And so it is a a 1, 2, 3 punch. English to Africa service is probably the best thing, frankly, that ever happened to Voice of America. And I can assure you that one of the best things that I have been part of and I have experienced is the enthusiasm, the excitement, the courage, the confidence, the profound interest, really, of our colleagues. Day in, day out, trying to put something on air.
The last 50 years, our audience have been very loyal, stuck with us, and hope for the next 50 years you'll be with us because we'll be doubly as good.
Happy birthday, English to Africa service. You all have just been fantastic. And I know that the next 50 years will be just as exciting and fulfilling as the past 50 have been.
English to Africa, 50 years of serving the continent.